This is breaking news. President Donald Trump just gave a scathing review of the $900 billion stimulus relief package that both the House and the Senate just passed and worked on together. I'm going to show you the video here in just a moment. He did not speak of vetoing the bill, but he did in fact ask that Congress would amend it for a number of reasons. Let's watch it now.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity. It's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I am also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Wow. So at the end there, although he doesn't speak of a veto, he says that they need to amend it and send him a new bill, or else the next administration is going to have to deal with it. So it makes it seem as if this is in fact something he is not going to be signing. He lists off a number of reasons. Of course, the biggest of all is this paltry $600 that's going to the American people. I have been telling you guys this all along. They are rooking the American people in this bill. I've been saying it, and I know that there's some people who are against me because of it for political reasons. They love Nancy Pelosi. They think something of her. I don't understand it. They hate Mitch McConnell, or they love Mitch McConnell, or whatever it is. Forget the politics, everybody. Forget it. Just take those lenses off your eyes for a moment and look at what they just did to you. They gave you $600 after facing the greatest pandemic we've ever seen. I mean, at least in the history that we've been here. I mean, anyone on planet Earth at this time. Forced jobs, shutdowns, government closing things across the boards. I mean, schools are shut down. They gave you $600. And then they funneled off all this other money. Now, he listed a bunch of things. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure if all the things he listed are actually in the stimulus bill or in the $1.4 trillion that was for the government funding. And I'm sure that there are, if some of it was in the government funding, people are going to start ripping him apart for that. But it's not too much to rip him apart for, because they put the two bills together on purpose so that they would pass the $1.4 trillion. See, you could differentiate the two bills, but I don't think it's right to differentiate it too much, because the government spending bill wouldn't have passed without the stimulus bill attached to it. Therefore, anything that's in the government funding bill is directly attached to the economic relief bill, and in my opinion, up for game. So he went on to say that this thing was a disgrace and that nobody in Congress has read it. That is probably a fact, because it is almost 6,000 pages long, and it's pretty much impossible for somebody to read 6,000 pages that quickly before they vote on something. And then he went on to list out all of the money that was appropriated to different places that had nothing to do with COVID relief. He listed Cambodia, Burma, Egypt, gender programs in Pakistan. He looked at the reef fish management, counting amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, looking at fallen trees, and a number of other things, most of which I believe are factually in this bill. Again, either in the stimulus bill or in the government funding bill. But in my opinion, you can put both of them together. I don't care if there's another site out there or another person who's telling you, no, that's not in the economic relief bill, it's in this one. That is partially twisting the truth a little bit. Yes, it may be in a separate bill, but I can guarantee you it would not have gotten passed if the economic relief bill wasn't attached to it. So I believe it's credible to list this stuff. But then he went to the biggest point of all, and he said that what they did is they gave the American people the bare minimum, a $600 paltry little $600 check after 9 months. And I agree with that. I mean, it's almost like we should be excited and happy that they just spent all of our money, the working class, all of us, they spent our money on this big bill, and now they're going to give us a $600 check. I mean, over time, it's going to end up costing us more than a $600 check with increased taxes. And Donald Trump says, no, you send me a new bill, and it's got to have $2,000 per person in there. And I say, yes, of course. I think they should lower the amount of money for a whole bunch of other things and give the money to the American people. That's the best way to do it. I love the fact that he's going directly to that, and Congress is going to have to go back to work tomorrow. At least that's what I'm supposing, or maybe even tonight, because it looks like he's not going to go ahead and sign it, because if he signs it, then all these words are meaningless. And the end of his statement saying, then you're going to have to give it off to another administration, is meaningless. And so if he's just saying that, but he's going to sign it, that makes absolutely no sense. So it looks like he wants an amendment. He wants the American people to get more money, and he wants them to take that stuff out of it. And I think if they don't, I don't think he's going to sign it. I don't think he's going to approve it. I don't know if he's going to veto it. I don't really know exactly what he's going to do here. I mean, technically, he's either supposed to sign it or veto it. So I don't know if there's some sort of a play in what he can do in technically not vetoing it, or maybe he will officially veto it. I have no idea. I know that's going to look bad, but he, to my opinion, did a pretty good job listing off all of the reasons why. And I agree, this thing is not good. He also said at the end there too, that it'll either be the new administration or maybe mine, and it'll be me. Now, of course, that's a huge long shot. I mean, huge at this point. Basically, every single state Supreme Court, including the Supreme Court of the United States, is pushing away every single means by which they're trying to bring legal action at this. And now I know many people who watch this channel watch the mainstream media, and you don't get to see the intricacies of why the Supreme Courts are doing this. It's not entirely off of merit. There is a lot of merit about all of the discrepancies that have occurred in these battleground states and all of the things that were actually changed that shouldn't have been changed, because there was a lot of rules, voting rules, that were changed that can only be changed legislatively. But they weren't changed legislatively. They were changed by the governor. And then they were upheld by the liberal Supreme Courts in these states, which is not the constitutional way you're supposed to deal with this. However, because of the situation at hand, everyone wants to keep their hands off of this and not really take a look at it and basically move forward. If you're okay with that, then you move forward to the next administration. If you take a look and then you go, well, that's not the way that it's supposed to be done. There's a constitutional setup for it. It's not okay to change the rules like that. Then you would want the legal action to be taken. But these Supreme Courts are stopping it. But it doesn't look like he's going to sign this bill. I wonder what your thoughts are on this. I'm going to let you know, I agree with them. I think that this was a rook to the American people. I have been saying this for a very long time. How in the world did they just do this? How in the world were we talking about a $1.9 trillion deal too much? It's like everyone has an amnesia. Like nobody remembers this. And I do a lot of research on these different sites, different mainstream media sites, looking at all of them. And nobody even brings this up anymore as if it never occurred. And I'm glad that he brought it to the forefront for the American people to hear. I wonder what your thoughts on it. I know that everyone needs help now. I get it. In my opinion, I think it would be wonderful if Congress could go tomorrow, rip out all of the stuff he just listed, because in my opinion, I didn't hear one thing that he listed that I would say, no, we got to keep that in. We have to keep that in. The gender studies in Pakistan, that's got to stay in. The amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, come on now. We got to know how many amberjack fish are in there. Fallen tree studies, we got to do that. There wasn't one thing he listed that I would say we have to have that right now. Rip it all out. Up the amount to $2,000 per person and shove it right back to him. There is not one single reason why Congress can't do that. And if I was him, that's where I would have ended it. I would have said, American people, ask yourself this question. Was any one of those things I listed something that you would say to yourself, I must have this in this bill? My taxes are going to pay this. Or would you say, you know what? Right now is an okay time to get rid of that stuff. Put in the $2,000 per person. That's what we need to do. Put in more help for the small businesses, for the restaurants, like he said. That's what we need to do. And get me the bill tomorrow with these changes. I agree with that. Now, of course, we know that this is going to be spun. President Donald Trump doesn't like America, doesn't want to help the American people. How dare he do this? It's going to be spun all over the place. Take off the lenses, ladies and gentlemen. Forget about where you stand politically. I'm telling you, be a free thinker and start to look at it for what it is and for what these politicians are doing to the American people. They are doing this on purpose. Whatever agenda they have at hand, they've already proven their political schemes. It cannot become more clearer. Guys, they're sending you a $600 check for you and for your kids after 9 months of a close down and pandemic. And then we're listing off all these other things. Now, granted, I know that all those other things, when you count up all the money, it might not come up to $1 trillion or maybe even $100 billion, but still, they're finding this money in there for these places and these things that at this point, it's just completely ridiculous. We are going to keep an eye on this. I would ask you to as well. I would love to read your comments below. What do you all think about this? As always, I will catch you next time.